1, 2, 3, audio test.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, audio test. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, audio test.
Hi, this is CBRadioMagazine.com and excited to show you guys the President Randy FCC. This is a new AM handheld CB radio from President, launched in 2021. I've actually had this for a couple of weeks, but I was holding off on doing a video until I really put it through the paces and got to test out all the features on it. It's also exciting because this is a new styled handheld radio, more like some of our ham radio handhelds that we already see on the market. And it has a ton of digital features packed into it, similar to some of the other new radios I've shown you from President. So let's jump into this one and I'll show you what comes in the box, and then we'll start going through all the cool stuff in the radio. This, of course, is your handheld unit. This is your rubber duck antenna. This would just screw onto the antenna connector on the top, and then you could start transmitting and receiving. Comes with a wrist connection, which would go through right here, and then you could make sure you don't drop it. You could wrap that around your wrist. When you're going to charge the unit, it has a charger piece here that has your connectors on the bottom. You squeeze these tabs, and this just clicks into the bottom. Now, you have two options. You can either charge this with a home charging AC unit, which is pretty handy. This plugs into your AC, and then this plug goes into the bottom here. Or you can charge this in your vehicle with a cigarette lighter adapter. You would plug that in, and then again, you would plug the other end into this piece here. So you can charge it at home or on the road. Comes with an antenna adapter, and this would be if you wanted to use an antenna that had a PL259 connection on it. So this screws on to the top here, and then you could screw on your external antenna. So you could use this with a base antenna or any of the President mobile antennas, mag mount antennas. This would actually be pretty handy with the President New York. I actually think they changed the name of it. I can't remember what the new name is, but that's a very compact magnet mount antenna, but it's going to give you better range than the standard rubber duck antenna if you were in a vehicle. So that'd be a nice little travel combo to go with this. In addition to those items, it does come with a belt connector. So you could clip this on your belt and then clip the radio in, and you could have easy access to it there. It also comes with a standard microphone clip here. You could mount that permanently using the screws they supplied someplace if you wanted to. And it comes with an extra fuse. The fuse would be for your DC power supply from the car. So if you ever blow a fuse in one of these, to get to it, you would unscrew the top here, and this is spring loaded, and hopefully everything doesn't come flying out. And then the fuse is located inside these. So if you ever have an adapter for your cigarette lighter and you're wondering how to change the fuse, these do have a fuse inside. Most of them, they should, and it's just accessed through the top there. All right, now the fun part, we get to show you the radio. So I'll do this in a couple of parts. I'll break it up a little bit. First off, push to talk button on the left-hand side, high-low power control here, squelch up, squelch down, and on the other side we've got a external microphone jack and a headphone jack, and those are underneath the protective rubber tab. We've got on the top on-off and volume control. That turns the radio on and controls the volume. Flashlight, antenna connector, and then on the back we've got our belt clip connector here, and our battery would be underneath there. We turn the radio on. We can adjust our volume up or down. We've got an indicator here for transmit or receive. If we press the push to talk, you'll see that go red or green. The high-low button here, you'll see there's a little L in the lower right hand. If we hold in the high-low button, it takes us to high power. If we hold it in again, it takes us back to low power. That is your output transmit power, so you can adjust it for low or higher amounts of wattage going out. Squelch control. So if we turn up our volume here and we press the up squelch button, you can see we're currently in the off position. As we turn it up, the squelch levels will cut back the static until a strong enough station breaks that squelch level. So you can set the squelch level here, or you can also press both buttons simultaneously. Oops, if I do it correctly, and it goes to the automatic squelch control, which is a feature that President has on a lot of their radios. That will automatically determine the amount of squelch you should have depending on static levels, and then it will pull in signals when they come on. So it actually works pretty well on most radios, and it does work pretty well on this as well. However, I think a lot of people, when they're using this, if you're using it and you're trying to hear far off stations because you're using a little rubber duck antenna most of the time, you may want to have your squelch levels set pretty low. That would just be my advice. If you have a better antenna hooked up, then you can maybe adjust these differently or use the automatic squelch control feature. The display on the President Randy FCC is backlit, which is really nice. So at nighttime, you can see what you're doing. It has your channel display here right in the middle, nice and big, so you can see that easily. Shows that we're in AM mode. There is only AM mode on this unit. There is a President Randy unit that is designed for Europe, and that has FM mode and AM mode, and that would show up there for those, but this is an AM only unit. On the right hand corner, you'll see the battery display. It has a S unit display here for receive, high-low power indicator as I showed you already, a frequency display which shows you the frequency that corresponds to the channel that you're on. And then there are other indicators that will display as we go through the menu options. Most of the buttons on the Randy will have dual features, so there'll be a standard press and then a long press function. So we'll show you all of those. First one, CB, WX, or weather frequencies. So when we press this, it takes us out of CB mode, takes us into weather channel mode, and we can go through using our channel selector in the middle to select which weather frequency we'd like to use. There's 7 standard ones here, which are pretty standard across the country. This is a Canadian station we're picking up, and you can also go through and get another one here. We can hear that one. Don't have a great signal, oops, too far. Great signal strength on it, so it's a little staticky, probably better outside than inside here. So yeah, just press that quickly to go into the weather channel mode. If you long press it, it turns this alert function on and off. And the alert function is if you're in CB mode and they send out a weather alert going, warning, there's a tornado or there's a flood or whatever, it will have a beep indicator that comes through on CB mode, and then you can go into your weather channel to get the weather report or whatever the danger is. So that's what this button does, both modes. This has a noise blank, ANL, and high cut feature. So we can turn ANL on by itself, noise blank on by itself. We can turn them both on, we can turn them both off, or we can long press and turn on the high cut. I will demonstrate. You're not going to hear much of a difference right now. Let me make sure my squelch is turned down so we can get static. And I'll press the ANL. Made a little bit of a difference. Noise blank, not a huge difference. Together, a little quieter. High cut gives you a lower tone. So cuts out some of that high-end noise. So those are your noise blank, ANL, and high cut features on that button. The monitor button here is a little interesting. So if you have the squelch up, you will not hear any stations. So you might set this to a level that you use all the time. But if all of a sudden you wanted to make sure you could hear without having to go through and adjust your squelch, you press this monitor button, and it basically bypasses the squelch so that you could listen on that frequency without using the squelch. You press it again, it goes back into squelch mode. Vox button. The Vox on this radio allows you to do hands-free talking. So, normally you have to press the push to talk button, but with Vox, we can turn that on. And then if we get close enough to the microphone here and start talking, the radio would automatically key without us having to press the push to talk button. This might be handy if you're using this with an external microphone and you wanted to have that close to your mouth, and then you could just talk hands-free as you walk around. And if you talked, this would start transmitting. When you're not talking, it is not transmitting. So that's a neat feature. There's sensitivity levels and other stuff I'll show you in the menu for that. The EMG button. This button takes us to channel 9 or 19 or back to our standard frequency that we were on previously. You can also set these in the menu to determine what channels you'd like to have be those emergency channels. The scan button will allow us to scan through the frequencies. We just press it once and it'll scan through. If there is a signal that is strong enough, it will stop scanning and break through the squelch, and we'll hear that. You have to have the squelch turned up really for this to work properly. press it once again, takes us out of the scan. The dual watch function is the secondary function on that button. So if we key up and we talk on 12 and then we hold long press here, it'll go into dual watch. You can set one channel as the dual watch, and then it'll also go back to the channel that you last transmitted on. So we set channel 6, and it's going between channel 6 and channel 12, which we just transmitted on. You can press it again and it'll go out. The button up here is the flashlight, which we can turn on and shine around, and it's got a pretty good brightness on it. So if you were in your tent or something and you needed to get some light, you could do that. Up down selector for channels, of course, is right in the middle. That one's nice and easy to reach. And then our menu button is right here, and I'm going to push that and take us into the menu, and that'll be our next section. To go into the menu, we long press the menu button, and once we're in the menu, there's a bunch of different options you can scroll through. First one's going to be color. We can press the menu button again, and when you see it flashing, that means we can select the different functions. We can do orange, green, blue, cyan, yellow, purple. CL is kind of a light, almost whitish purple color, or back to orange. Not exactly sure what CL stands for. We press the button again to then go back to our scrolling to get to the other menu features. Roger beep. This has 6 Roger beeps, so I'll go through each one. Roger beep is a little beep that goes at the end of your transmission to let someone know that you're done transmitting. The key beep. Every time you touch something on here, you hear a beep. That is the key beep function. If that drives you nuts, you can turn that off. With a handheld, actually, in some cases, it might be nice to have it on just in case you press a button by accident. Next is eco mode. There's 3 levels in the eco mode. Eco mode is a kind of a standby mode. So if you were worried about battery power and you wanted to save battery power on the unit, you could set one of those 3 levels in the eco mode. It timed out of the menu. I waited too long to press something, so I pressed it to go back in here. So you can set any one of the 3 levels, and you can turn it off as well if you're not worried about charging the battery or losing your battery power. That is a neat feature. You can read more about it in the manual. Tone control, this one I like. This is the first time I've seen this on a handheld radio. It allows you to adjust the tone, kind of the pitch or sound that you're listening to. So this would make it lower, negative, get rid of some of the high-end hiss. If you want to be able to hear some of those high-end noises a little better, you go higher on it and up to 5. So you can mess around with that. Emg setting. You can actually set your Emg channels in here. It's kind of default 9 or 19, but you can set those to whatever you want. So you could use the Emg button as more of like a favorites for memory, but if you're worried and you want to be able to, make an emergency yell on 9 or 19, then you might just want to leave it standard. It comes from the factory. Vox settings. If you go in here, there's 3 different options in here. There's your level of sensitivity, which is the L. There's your anti-Vox, which is making sure that when you talk to do the voice activated, it's not turning on from other noises. So that's kind of your anti-Vox. And then there's the timer or delay. And this would be so that you can make sure that if there's a delay and you're talking when you're using the Vox, that it doesn't cut off and then abruptly start again. It'll kind of give you a delay to handle those pauses between words. There's the dual watch setting in here. This is the dual watch button over here that I showed you. You can set that channel in here, and then when you press this, it'll go between the dual watch frequency and the last one that you transmitted on. And there's a reset all. So if you wanted to put everything back to where it was, then you just do this, and then all your settings go back to where they were. And you can go through and create that. And it just did it and reset everything. And now we're back on channel 9 and the radio has reset. One other thing I will show you that was kind of a hidden thing I was excited about. If you press the push to talk button and the Vox button, push to talk and Vox button, this little filter comes on here. And that is a noise gate feature, which is actually kind of neat. And that cuts out background noise. So that was kind of a neat one that I didn't know was in here initially when I was messing around.
for a little bit of Mother Nature. But good afternoon one more time. Shred Bone, little squeaker, said, good day. Waving radio. Worldwide machete, west side, break, break, break. Up and down. AR&R will say you dropped out of my radio, boy.
So a little DX out there today, Witch Doctor, Motormouth, and we heard them on the portable antenna. We also heard them on the external antenna here. Of course, better antenna, better receive and transmit. That's universal in CB radio. Very fun, though, to be able to hear the DX coming in. Good sensitivity. It's on par with some of the mobile radios we've tested. We tried the ANL, noise blank, and the squelch, and those all worked really well. The output on this with the external antenna connected, we went into our watt meter, about 1 watt on low, about 4 watts on high, which is what it's set to from the factory, what you'd expect, and not a huge amount of swing from there. The modulation levels, we went through the oscilloscope, they're about 75-85% from what I could tell, so you're not going to see a huge amount of swing. And it's a handheld, so that's kind of what you'd expect. That being said, the audio did come through nice and clear, no problem. On the other end, receiving, we could hear the signals and the people's voices real crisp, clean. The speaker on this, this is a really nice little speaker. I took this to the beach and was listening to it, had it on the desk listening to it, and yeah, I'm impressed with the speaker as well. Distance test. Now, this is tough to do in terms of real world situation, but we did go up on top of a hill, had someone transmit, and we drove away in a car. In line of sight, we hit about 5 miles, and then as the car had to start going through some terrain, we lost the signal pretty quickly. And that again was transmitting with the handheld antenna that comes with the radio. So 5 miles line of sight, not bad. We might be able to go further if we hadn't hit some obstructions, I'm not sure. The signal started getting pretty weak after the 5 miles. And we also did a test with a person inside the house transmitting kind of line of sight, but to a mobile, and they were inside a home transmitting through the walls, windows, doors, whatever. And we did get 3 miles out of that, no problem, and I had the audio coming through. So that it was a pretty good real world test of being able to use this with the little rubber duck antenna, and I was impressed with the results. Portability is really the key to this in any handheld. This was really fun. I mean, to take it to the beach, go on a hike, you can take this anywhere, talk to your local stations, and if the DX comes in and conditions are just right, who knows, you might be able to talk even further. Feature-wise, it has such a cool amount of features built into it. Kind of reminds me of the Magnum 1012 back in the day that had AM, single sideband, FM, those things. This doesn't have the sideband or the FM, but it has way more features than that radio, so it's just a lot of fun to play with. To be honest, the only thing that it's lacking would be an RF gain function or a mic gain function. But again, it's a handheld, and those aren't things that you usually would really need in a handheld. The RF gain might be handy, I guess, if you were really getting some strong signals in. But that would really be the only things I could say that it's missing. And I'm impressed. It's one of those things where I hope you guys get a chance to try it. It's over $100, so it's a little pricey, but I think if you bought this and you added it to your shack, it's one of those things you'll hold on to long term. So thanks for watching, cbradiomagazine.com. Take care.